Joanne. This is the Turtle Stack, where I talk with guests about topics they love even though I don't know much about it. We use 2 guidelines, no slamming, no selling. So we do our best to keep focused on the positive instead of tearing something down and without pushing agendas. We just want to focus on having an open mind to something new and building up the things we enjoy. Let's get into it. So this week I am here with a very special guest. I am here with my dad. What are we talking about today, Dad?
We are going to be talking about pickleball.
Fantastic. For people who don't know, what is pickleball?
So the easiest way for me to explain what pickleball is, it's kind of a combination of ping pong, racquetball, tennis, and badminton. And it's played on a court about half the size of a regular tennis court. And usually, unless you're young and in good shape, you play doubles, so you don't have to run around too fast. And you use a wiffle ball to play.
Oh, well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
What draws you to pickleball?
Well, living in a retirement community and being older, it was a game that people were playing here. It's actually pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the world right now. And it's a game that, unless you're really young and in great shape, most people play doubles. And you can be a finely tuned athlete to play the game, or you can be like your mother and I at 66 years old and not in great shape and still play and have a great time because you don't have to run a whole lot.
Okay, so it's really light on joints and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty easy on the body. It's a kind of a quick-paced game. You only play to 11 points. You only score when you serve, but the games usually last somewhere around 15 minutes, at the most. And then here in the retirement community, everybody goes and gets a drink of water, and then we chit-chat before we play again. But you can play for quite a while. It's a very easy game to play. It's not high cardiovascular.
Okay.
When we started playing, Mom and I didn't know what to do in the community. And so we would go down to the pickleball courts and we bought a paddle and a ball. It's a very inexpensive sport to get started on. You can go to one of the local sporting goods stores and you can buy a pickleball paddle from anywhere from $29 to $129, depending on what you like to spend. The balls cost like $2 a piece, but that's really all you need for equipment to play. So it's an inexpensive sport to get started with. Mom and I, when we started, we would go down and we would just see how many times we could hit the ball back and forth over the net. And, we were laughing. And if we got the ball back and forth to each other 10 times, we were having a great time. And we would do that for an hour. And then we just kind of learned how to hit the ball. And then we found there was people that played that actually knew how to play. And they started teaching us some of the rules and the finer parts of the game.
Well, that's really sweet. So you kind of have like a whole community that plays together and helps new people learn how to play and stuff like that?
Yes. So in our community, we have an actual, what they call a pickleball club. One time I was the president of the club, but I have since stepped down. But your mother has been the secretary of the club for almost 3 years now. So we're still very active with the club. There are parks here in Arizona where you can go to the public parks and there's people playing and you just kind of go there and put your paddle into a little rack and they just let people, join in and, they've got stuff for the beginners and they've got stuff for the advanced players. For the most part, the people that play pickleball, it's just about having a good time. There's never any screaming and yelling or anything like that with the game.
Yeah. Is there a professional level of pickleball? Like, is it something that you can see on TV?
To the best of my knowledge, they have not broadcasted a game yet on national TV. However, if you go to YouTube, they've got all kinds of YouTube videos that show you the basic rules of pickleball. They show you certain ways to hit the ball. They show matches between, there's 3 different categories. There's singles too, but you can have men's, women's, and mixed doubles playing. And so there's all kinds of different setups, which is kind of nice because Mom and I can, play at the same time. They don't separate it and say men only or women only.
Yeah.
And here's another fun thing about pickleball. According to the rules of the game, you cannot argue a call. So if you hit a ball and whoever you're playing against says it was out, you can't say no, it was in. Once somebody makes the call, you have to abide by the call. And if you play properly, when in doubt, you always give the break to the opponent. So if like I hit a ball and it's really close to hitting the line and they say, well, I couldn't tell if it was in or out, then they have to call it in. So that makes it kind of nice.
Do you ever have issues with people just making completely bunk calls, though, and taking advantage of that system?
No, because if somebody were to do that, nobody would play with them.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It really is, like I go play up at the public park twice a week now, and I usually go at like 7 in the morning and I play till 9 in the morning. And in 2 hours, there's 12 courts up there. And if you hear one time somebody go, oh no, that was a bad call, that's a lot. Nobody argues. I mean, it's just kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Like, it's a supportive community and just, yeah, you're there to play and not worry about all of the nitpicky calls and stuff.
The other thing that's kind of neat about pickleball is they have ratings. So I started playing when we moved down here, so about 3 years ago, and I had never played pickleball before in my life, but I do have some decent hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
When they rate you, it starts with, it goes from 1 to, I think now it goes up to 6, but it used to be 1 to 5. And it all depends on your skill level, how well you can serve the ball, if you can return a serve, if you can keep score accurately, because keeping score is kind of funny the way you have to say the score. And I went from being a 1.5 player when I started because I could hit the ball to right now I'm around a 3.5, and on good days I might be classified as a 4.0 player.
So is the rating like an official thing, or is it just kind of a judgment call?
For a lot of the what we call social play, it's a judgment call. However, there's a lot of people here. They play local tournaments if they're what they call sanctioned, where there's a referee or something. If you play, let's say you go in at a 2.5 level and you'd win your division, then they bump you up to a 3.0, and then from that point on, you have to be a 3.0 player if you go play in tournaments. You can play socially anywhere you want, but you can go to actual people that will rate you. There's our club paid somebody to come and rate our players, and then they give you a good indication of where you would be if you wanted to get into a tournament.
Well, that makes sense too.
Yeah, the game of pickleball, actually, I mean, there's a lot of neat little things. There are definite rules to the game. You have to, when you serve, you have to serve to the opposite, the kitty corner square throughout the game. If you hit the line is in, it's not out of bounds. You only score when you serve. Then there's the big thing is that when you serve the ball to the other team and they return it, the team that has served the ball has to let it bounce before they hit it. So you can't smash the ball out of the air on the very first time. And then after that, you can either play the ball in the air or when it bounces. So it's kind of like tennis that way. And then there's the big thing with pickleball is what they call the kitchen line. It's a line that's close to the front of the net, and you cannot stand in that square and hit the ball in the air. It has to bounce before you can hit it if you're in that area, because otherwise you'd be smashing balls. And I can also tell you where the name pickleball came from.
Oh, I'd be very interested in that.
So I believe it was in California, but I don't remember the city. There were three men that got together, and they actually created the game for their kids because they wanted their kids to have something to do rather than just going to the movies and watching TV and all this kind of stuff. Something that was easy for the kids to play and give them some kind of activities. And they named it after the guy's dog. And the dog's name was Pickle.
Oh.
Every time the kids would play, the dog would try to grab the ball and run away with it. And so they jokingly named it Pickleball. So that's where it came from.
That's so cute.
Yeah. Now, guess what year it started?
I'm gonna guess fairly recently, and I'm gonna say 20 years ago, so the year 2000.
Okay, and you are very close if you subtract another 35 years from that. They came up with this game back in 1965.
Oh, wow. I mean, in the sense of games in general, that is still very new.
It is very new, but I never heard of it growing up. I never heard of it. We moved 4 years ago. I had never heard of it until we moved to Arizona.
Yeah.
And down here, the communities, the retirement communities that are being built, if they do not have pickleball courts, they have a hard time selling their homes for people to buy. That's how popular the game has become.
Yeah.
The other thing, when we play, like, you only need 4 people. I mean, you can go practice with 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is we just keep rotating. It's not like you stay with the same partner the whole time. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but if you're playing and, like if mom and I are playing with another couple, well, then the next game, it might be the boys against the girls. And then the next game after that, we'll, maybe switch the partners around again. And just, it's just for, keeping active.
Well, neat. Now, you talked a little bit about the paddles, and you said there can be a pretty big range in price. Do you still have like the first paddle you bought, or did you upgrade to a better paddle after you realized it was something you wanted to keep playing?
The first paddles that we bought, I think we paid $39 for them, $40, call it. And we probably played for a year with those paddles. And then I got to play with a guy who was a very good player. He was a 4-0 player. And he was showing me how my paddle, if I had a little better paddle, I could do more things with it. So I went out and bought a paddle that I probably spent $90 on it 2.5 years ago. I still use that same paddle, so it's not like I have to replace it all the time.
Yeah.
Then we actually donated our old paddles down to our club so that when we would run clinics for people that wanted to learn how to play, that they had, some decent paddles to use. And we had other club members donate some of their old paddles. Your mother now has a paddle that I think we paid $60 for, and it doesn't do that much good, but it's prettier than the one that she had. So, but the paddles last a long time. I would tell, if they were interested in really trying to play the game, I would tell them to spend somewhere right around $60. Actually, it's one of those things where if you went to a park where they were playing, you could probably ask somebody about their paddles and they'd probably share that information. But there's different ounces. They only weigh like somewhere between 7.6 and 8.8 ounces. They're pretty light. Depending on your physical abilities, you might not want a heavy paddle. You can't swing it as fast. So some people like the lighter paddle. It makes it go quicker. Some people like a heavier paddle. I have a heavier paddle. I don't have to worry about the speed of it. And the only thing you might have to do to your paddle is a couple times I've had to re-grip it because I wear the grips out.
Oh, yeah.
Paddle is still good. It's one of those things where, like I said, I think about how much money I go through in golf balls because they keep putting them in the water all the time or people's backyards. But with pickleball, you don't go through a lot of money on your equipment. If you can buy the balls on Amazon, like I said, they're about $2 a piece, and they may break depending on the climate. There's different kinds of balls. For those people that are looking to get into it, if you're playing outdoor, there's outdoor balls, and then there's also indoor balls. And the difference between them is the hole size. But if you're just playing socially with your friends, you can play with any kind of pickleball you want. It doesn't really matter. I mean, there's some balls are a little softer, some are a little harder. So the ones that we play with are lime green, but you can buy orange, and they have blues and reds and whites. And the lime green is the most popular one because they're the easiest to see. And for guys like me with a red-green color blindness, I can't stand the orange ball because it turns black when I try to see it.
I feel like I would go for a blue one, but I just like blue. Are they all the same size?
All the pickleballs are all the same size, and they have to meet certain standards. The only thing that varies is the paddles. They can have different weights. Some are a little narrower, but they're longer than others, and some are more kind of like rectangular shaped. There's none that are square shaped. And then there's soft paddles, there's hard paddles.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's just a good time. I mean, it's just, you laugh a lot. As we tell people, if somebody makes a great shot, we don't want to see anybody running and trying to dive for a ball.
Mm-hmm.
Just turn to the person and go, nice shot.
Sounds like a really, really nice community.
Yeah, it's a fun game. For those people that don't know anything about it, watching it on YouTube and watching the 5-0 players play, you don't get the true sense of how much fun it is for the beginners, because we get to play more easy game.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if somebody were to try pickleball for, the first time, do you have any advice, like technique-wise?
I've coached people in pickleball. I've helped out on clinics. I've helped teach beginners. And the biggest thing is you have to learn to slow down, because people swing real fast when they see the ball coming, and it's a wiffle ball. So it's not traveling real fast, real long. If it starts to come through the air and then it slows down, and when it hits the ground, it bounces, it slows down, and people swing so fast that they're actually swinging past the ball before it even gets to them. So you have to learn to just relax. And I tell people there's a line down the middle of the court, and when in doubt, try to hit the ball to the line. Don't worry about making big fancy shots when you're first starting. Just be happy to hit the ball in play, and play with people that are willing to play easy with you to get you started. And once you learn how to hit the ball, then you start playing a little bit harder. But at first, it's just a question of you gotta relax, take it easy. You don't have to hit the ball real hard because it's a wiffle ball.
It's not going very fast or hard, no matter how hard you hit it.
Sometimes you can drive a ball and hit the person right in the body with the ball, and it's not going to hurt because it's a wiffle ball. It's not like getting hit with a baseball or a golf ball or anything like that. For the most part, you're not going to get hurt by getting hit by a wiffle ball. But it's for the most part, it's just a lot of fun. I mean, we could go out tonight, call up another couple, and just go down and, for a half an hour, hit a ball back and forth, and probably spend more time laughing than doing anything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you found that community, because it sounds like it's made a lot of good friendships.
In our community, there's actually 3 other communities, and all of them have pickleball clubs and pickleball courts, and they're all a fairly close-knit group of people that enjoy playing with each other. It's a game where I would tell people, no matter where you are, there should be pickleball courts somewhere that you can get into, do a little research on it, and you should be able to find them.
Yeah. Do you have any specific stories or memories from pickleball that kind of stick out as particularly fun or important to you?
Well, I can tell you that I was in a tournament, and we were playing men's doubles, and it was my first tournament ever, and we got into a game, and we were losing 9-1, and game is 11. So it wasn't looking very good. And I looked at my partner and I said, we can only score 1 point at a time. And they scored 9 in a row. We should be able to score 9 in a row. And we ended up winning 11-9.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of fun. It wouldn't have been fun if I would have been up by that much.
No.
But it was fun to come back. And we actually ended up winning we got the gold medal that year we won our 2.5 division. So then we got bumped up the next year. That was okay too. That was pretty much fun. And then the other fun thing for me was I went and played at a public park, and I was playing with guys. I was maybe trying to be a 3-0 player consistently, and I was playing with 4s and 4-5s. And they started teaching me how to play the game. They started showing me positioning, and it was kind of fun because I would play and the guy would look at me and he'd go, "Where were you going with that ball?" And I was like, "Well, I was just hitting it." And he goes, "Well, you can't just hit it. You have to anticipate what you're trying to do." And he started explaining the game to me. So I got better and better as far as learning what to do and how to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, as opposed to just smacking the ball back and forth over the net. So it's fun to start by just smacking the ball back and forth over the net, but the more you progress, then you start to get a little better understanding of the technicality of the game.
Yeah. I love most people that I've talked to on this podcast. Part of the reason why they like the thing that they like is because of the community that they found. It's really neat that kind of no matter what, you can find people that just want to support you and help you and create that friendly, inviting atmosphere.
Well, if you like what you're doing, you're willing to tell others about it and you're willing to help others with it. You're supposed to teach the next generation. And in our community, which is a retirement community, it's like, just enjoy it. Nobody's going to call me up to play in the pickleball Olympics of the world. So just enjoy what you're doing.
Right. Well, is there anything else specific that you wanted to touch on or that you had to add?
No, I think the only thing like that I said about pickleball, the things I like the most about it is you can play at any level. I mean, we've got people with physical ailments that still can go out and hit the ball back and forth. And if I'm playing with, somebody who's, a much more handicapped kind of a person as far as their abilities go, I just hit the ball back and forth to them to let them play it. It's not like I have to win those kind of games. So that's what's kind of nice. You can play and teach people how to play. It's been how Mom and I met a ton of people down here. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
I will definitely play pickleball with you next time I am in Arizona, I promise. If you're interested in following me, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as The Turtle Stack. If you have something you want to chat about, please email theturtlestack@gmail.com. I don't need an expert, just someone who enjoys something, no matter how simple or eccentric. If you're excited to talk about it, I'm excited to listen. Just remember the rules. No slamming, no selling. Thanks for listening.